Hello and welcome to another episode of Cyrils Brettspiele. Today with the egoistic Nils and
egotistic Kathleen, Mercury.
And we are talking about
Tem-Purr-A.
Ooh.
Kitty cat, yeah.
A little game. Some of the students called it Exploding Kitten meets what? I forgot the other. Anyway, it's a game about...
It has cats in it.
Correct.
So that's
little
why they call it
cute
Exploding Kittens.
Kitties here, as you can see. Mm-hmm. And the idea is they have to eat a lot of sushi and Japanese food until they are getting this rotten stuff.
Stinky fish, you don't want it.
Seriously? Not as a kitty. Okay,
right.
Not as a tiny little kitty. Okay.
Tokens. Not wooden pieces. But tokens.
Bad, right? Bad quality. However, let's go over to the rules. You, me, who's taking the rules this time?
Well, you're in charge of stinky fish today. So, yes.
The rules for Tem-Purr-A are very simple. So this cute little kitty cat game has only a variety of a couple of cards. You have cards numbered from 2 up to 7 with numbers on it, or you have this yellow cards, so-called action cards. Later in the game you have also this rotten cards. I explain that in a second. When it is your turn and you start off the game with 5 cards on your hand, when it's your turn, you have the option of 4 things to do. There's always a discard pile, except for you as a starting player, then you simply start the discard pile. Option 1 is match the number, a 4 on a 4. Very easy and simple. If there's a different number in the middle and you don't have the number in your hand, but you have a pair, you could also take this deck and discard it into the discard pile and start a new pile. Option 2. Let's assume you have this card right now here, and there are 3 6s in the middle. Option 3 is a really bad option because there are 6, 12, 18 is a total number of numbers multiplied by cards in the middle right now. And when you have to draw cards from this deck here, now you have to draw 18 cards. Now we are talking about the rotten fish cards. At the beginning of the game, there's 1 rotten fish card somewhere in the deck. You shuffle them in. But later on, there are up to 6 cards. And when you have to draw 18 cards, and there's at least one rotten fish card in it, you get this death tokens. Whoever has 3 death tokens first is the loser of the game. Now you know exactly 3 out of 4 options, and there's one more option, and this is this action card. When it comes to you and you don't have a 6 and you don't have a pair, or you just don't want to play a 6, you can play one of these 3 action cards. Action card 1 is a +1. You play a card, and in this case, instead of drawing 18, the next player has either to match a 6 or drawing 19 cards. This card means you point out to a player, and this player is the next player. And this one just simply switches from clockwise to counterclockwise or back and forth. So that is the last option you can do: playing an action card, matching, starting a new discard pile, or unfortunately draw these cards. Over the course of the game, instead of just 1, up to 6 rotten fish cards go into the deck, and whoever take 3 of them is the bad loser.
Welcome back, Nils.
Okay, let's talk about components.
All right.
You started that before the rules already.
I did. It has tokens in it. I'm sorry. Spoiler alert. There's tokens. It also has cards.
Oh, seriously?
It has cards in it, a lot of them. Actually, it has a whole lot of them. It's got a gigantic stack. And, when you're playing the game, and that's good, that there's lots of options and stuff. We'll get to the critics later. But for right now, it's got cards. The artwork for each number is different. It's super cute.
It is.
Adorable little artwork. The cards are fine, normal quality. When you get the little stinky fish, they've got the little cat whose belly is bloated, and there's a ghost, I guess, of a dead cat over him.
Oh, the green.
Hilarious, especially especially for the pet owners in there. And it comes with a little directional reversal thing, which actually is really nice because when you change direction...
It's really helpful, yes.
It is really helpful because sometimes you kind of forget what way is happening. So it would almost make more sense if it was just one arrow instead of two on there, because really for a directional thing, when you have arrows pointing in both directions, it's not as helpful. But nevertheless, it's still a nice thought that they did that. That doesn't seem to make much sense.
For me, it's super helpful with two, because everybody around the table can see this or that.
Right.
You don't have to orientate that for the other people. However, that's probably a
small detail.
Correct.
Yeah.
But I agree, I really like the artwork and the quality of the cards. I mean, you always shuffle these cards. So card games, when you shuffle the cards again and again and again, you should probably sleeve that at some point. And this is one of the games where I would say, okay, if you really play it a lot of, sleeve this game. Otherwise, even with the best card stock quality, if you shuffle them 10 times...
It's a card
15.
game.
It is, true, yeah.
Sleeving is a matter of preference and discussion between two consenting adults.
I'm just saying, the quality of these cards is good.
Sleeve them! Sorry.
You're intimidating me with this scream.
I'm sorry, so sorry. I don't care if you sleeve them or not. How about that?
Okay, let's go over to the critics. We figured out, I hope I can say we, so I hope I can speak for you as well. But we figured out...
We are a team.
That's true. That when you play the game the first time, or the first two times, you're playing the game without any strategy. It's fun. It's when someone is drawing from the stack, you're always screaming, rotten fish, rotten fish, rotten fish, stinky, 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 draw the red card, or whatever you're screaming.
Right.
And it's fun to see that people drawing cards. In the third or fourth or fifth time during our playtesting, we always try to establish a strategy.
Right, and I think what happened, especially in the second game, is players were more likely to draw cards when the number of stinkfish cards in there were low, and so that they would get a higher proportion of cards to fill their hand, and that way they'd have some protection against having very few cards, because when you have very few cards, that's really where the game is, you know, as far as we get lucky enough to get what you need, or are you just going to have to draw a huge wide hand of cards? And so when players draw a lot of cards when they don't have to, and they're successful in not drawing that, it actually just kind of extends the game. The nice thing is you start with one of these little stinkfish cards and more get added into the deck. So that's good. So by the time there comes a point where the game tips over from when you want to draw cards to build your hand up to where you absolutely don't. And once you absolutely don't, then it doesn't take too long for the game to finish.
That's true. Well, exactly what you're saying is in the second or third game, at least in the third game, you try to get a stack of 30, 40 cards before you put all the rotten fish in it, and hope that you can survive with your 40 cards.
Right.
Until
it also
the
makes
end.
it kind of boring, because all you need in order to basically to not have to draw from the deck, which is the last thing you want to do, all that you need to have in there is either a number to match, and there's only 7 numbers, or a pair. And if you're holding a thick stack, you can be pretty successful in that you will be able to keep playing the game. So it got kind of bloated and kind of dragged it out a little bit. And especially, I think, since to win the game, you know, winning is really inconsequential. Really, all you're trying to do is to figure out, like, basically, this is a game where everyone else wins when one person loses. And that's kind of okay, actually, in my mind. So when somebody...
That's true.
Yeah, so, because, like, both times when someone finally lost, and we're like, huzzah! And I remember the first time when you're like, I won. And I was like, who cares? He lost. That was hilarious, you know? So... Right. And you only get 3 tokens to, you know, lose. So if people are tied, then it's whoever has the most cards in their hand. And again, from a game perspective that works, from the actual play, who cares? You know, just all that matters is you got 3 stank fish, you know? So, in my mind, when it gets kind of bloated and drags that out, I don't totally see the point of that. But that said, it's not so long that it's, like, endless. Someone will lose at some point, and it will usually happen fairly quickly.
I can only add to that, I had always fun with people who played that new and have never played that before.
Right.
That was always the best round when they played it the second time, especially in a row. They started to build a strategy into it, and this game should not have a strategy built in. So the strategy of getting a thick deck in the early beginning, I mean, at the end of the day, when you start that, it comes down to where is this one stinky fish in this big pile?
I'm laughing because you said thick deck. There's lots of different ways you can enjoy the game, from the table talk down to the actual play itself.
Okay.
That sounds bad.
Okay. So it comes down exactly to this one moment where you have to draw a lot of cards, and if you're lucky and it's in the bottom, what are you doing?
I'm being inappropriate.
A little bit. Keep in mind, your students could see that.
They're not. Trust me.
Okay. Anyway, let's go. So
You're turning red.
seriously?
A little bit.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay,
let it in. So let's go back to the replayability. So the replayability is for me high when you have new players and when you take it to a bar or to eating out with friends. Probably not heavy gamers. They don't have a strategy. They're just sitting around a table and play just the game and try to bring someone down.
So I think a different way to play that might be kind of interesting, and who knows, this may have been play tested, but let's say that when you draw a big deck, all that matters is that you have at least one of these cards and you get a token. What I think might be more interesting is that you draw a token, a little stinky fish token, for each of those cards that you draw in the deck, and maybe when somebody has 7, they're out. So what that would do is, because there are times where someone said, you know what, I'm just going to take the deck, I know I'm going to get one, but that's going to give me a lot of cards. And I think, to me, that's kind of the opposite sort of strategy that you should have. So people had to take a token for each card that was in the deck, then that would actually probably make the game race to a conclusion. But in my mind, I think you're having to really weigh the risks of taking a lot of cards as opposed to taking it for more or less safety. Because the kid who did that at the right time, he took a lot of cards and he was able to just basically work with that deck until the end of the game. And that's okay from a gaming standpoint, but I think I want it to be fun all the time. I want there to be risk all the time. And so by having people take tokens for each one in the deck, for me, that would make it more fun, I think.
Probably a house rule. I've never tried it, so and you have never tried it too, or?
No, I just made it up right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Always thinking.
So let's go over to the recommendations.
If you like big decks and stinky fish
and kitties
and pussycats, this is the game for you.
Okay,
No, I said it's a fun game. You know what? If you're looking for another card game to end it, and you know what? Honestly, I think there's definitely some, like, you probably have a lot of fun with some house rules in there too, because it's not so prescribed as far as, like the functionality of the cards. Like, you can only use them in this way. You could probably have a lot of fun with this game, coming up with different variants and ways to play. The art's adorable. The kids loved the theme of it, so I'd say it's worth buying.
Definitely. I would say that as well. So I have to say I had a lot of fun playing this game, and even more than I expected. When I got this game and I saw this little tiny box here and I saw, kitty games, oh wow, boring. But honestly, when I played it, I said, wow, there's more in it than I expected. I really like it. So, and that is always a good sign for me when I'm surprised by a game that I right from the get-go thought, oh, okay, just another card game.
It's always nice to have a small box surprise you. Yeah,
that's true.
Yeah, absolutely true.
That was another episode of
Filthy Pants, Kathleen Mercury. Oh, and Tem-Purr-A.
And Nils from Cyrils Brettspiele. See you next time. Bye.
Tschüss.
Oh, German.
Ja, doch.
Auf Wiedersehen. Bis zum nächsten Mal.